Hey there, welcome. If you're gearing up for your IGNO exams, then you've landed in exactly the right spot. In this explainer, we're going to break down Adam Smith's huge foundational theory of economic development. We're going to cover all the core concepts, the major criticisms, and I'll even share a couple of cool tricks to help you lock it all in for exam day.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. Think of it as our roadmap for this session. We're actually following the structure of your IGNO study material pretty closely, just to make revisions super straightforward and effective. We're going to hit every single key point you need.
Okay, first things first. Before we can really get into what Adam Smith was all about, we've got to set the stage, right? We need to understand the world he was in and the group of thinkers he was a part of. We're talking about the classical economists. These guys were basically the original architects of modern economic thought. And, all these thinkers were wrestling with one massive question. It's the big one. How does a nation actually become wealthy? I mean, really, how does that happen? This was the central puzzle that Adam Smith and all his peers were trying to crack. So you're probably going to recognize a lot of these names. We've got Adam Smith, Malthus, Ricardo. These are the heavyweights, the giants of classical thought. Now, while some guys like Malthus were focused more on the demand side of things, Smith, he was all about the supply side. And today, he's the one we're really zooming in on. All right, let's get right into it. Let's look at Smith's blueprint for growth. This all comes from his absolute masterpiece from 1776, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. And yeah, that's a long title, but for your exam, you'll definitely want to remember it. Okay, so right at the very heart of his entire theory is this pretty simple, really elegant equation. Y equals a function of L, K, and T. Seriously, if there is one single formula you take away from this whole session, make it this one. It is the absolute core of his model. So what do those letters actually stand for? Well, this formula breaks down into real-world stuff. Y is the total output, basically the nation's wealth. And what drives it? Well, three things. L is for labor, which, grows as the population grows. K is for capital, and that comes from savings and investment. And finally, T is for land, which for Smith meant not just physical land, but also natural resources and even technology. Okay, so we've got the blueprint, we've got the formula. But what actually fuels this engine of growth? What makes it go? Well, Smith pointed to a few key features, and believe me, these are absolutely crucial for you to be able to explain in your answers. The first big one, and you've probably heard of this, is laissez-faire. It's a French term that basically means let it be. Smith was a big believer in a kind of natural law for economics. He argued that if you just leave people alone to chase their own interests, this almost magical, invisible hand will guide the market and produce the best possible result for society as a whole, all without the government needing to step in. And this famous quote from him just nails the idea perfectly. He said it's not from the baker's kindness that we get our bread, but from his self-interest. Think about it. The baker isn't getting up early in the morning because he's a great guy. He's doing it to make money. But by doing what's best for him, he ends up doing something great for the whole community, providing bread. That, right there, is the invisible hand in action. And this leads to a super powerful chain reaction. It's really the core of his growth model. So check this out. It all kicks off with the division of labor. People specializing in one small task. This specialization makes workers way more skilled and efficient, so productivity just skyrockets. More productivity means more stuff gets made, which leads to more savings, especially by the capitalists and landlords. And what happens to those savings? They get reinvested as capital, which fuels even more growth. It's this amazing, self-reinforcing cycle that just keeps the whole economy moving forward. So who are the players in this game? Smith saw economic progress as a kind of team effort. He pointed to three key agents of growth. You've got your farmers, providing the food surplus. Then you've got your producers, making all the manufactured goods. And finally, the businessmen, who handle all the trade and commerce. The key thing here is that they're all connected. You can't have one without the others. Progress in farming, for example, creates demand for tools from producers, and it all drives the whole economy forward together. Okay, I know that was a lot of key concepts. So for your exams, here is a little trick to remember the big drivers of Smith's theory. Just remember this sentence: New Delhi capitals always succeed. Easy enough, right? That'll help you remember natural law, division of labor, capital accumulation, agents of growth, and even the stationary state, which, by the way, is exactly what we're talking about next. But here's the twist. According to Adam Smith, this incredible engine of growth, well, it can't just run forever.
He actually believed that every capitalist economy would eventually run out of steam, slow down, and hit a final kind of inevitable endpoint.
And he had a name for this, the stationary state. It's exactly what it sounds like, the point where all economic growth just stops. So why does this happen? Smith pointed to two big reasons. First, as the economy expands, you get more and more businesses, which means competition gets super fierce. That intense competition drives profits way, way down. And second, you start running out of natural resources. Eventually, profits fall so low that there's no incentive to invest anymore, and the whole economy just flatlines. It stagnates. Okay, now this next part is super important. For a really top-scoring exam answer, you can't just lay out the theory. You have to be able to critique it, to show you understand its limits. So let's put on our critic hats and take a closer look at Smith's blueprint to find some of the major weaknesses. And yep, you guessed it, we've got another mnemonic to help you remember these criticisms. This one's pretty funny. Just think of the phrase, "Rich old uncles never understand." A simple little sentence like that can be a lifesaver when you're trying to recall the 5 key critiques in the middle of an exam. So let's quickly break that down. R is for rigid division of society. Smith's model kind of ignores the hugely important role of the middle class. O is for one-sided saving base. He pretty much assumed that only capitalists and landlords save, not regular people earning an income. U is for unrealistic assumption of perfect competition. I mean, come on, no economy is a pure laissez-faire system. The N is for neglect of the entrepreneur. Smith's theory doesn't really give credit to the innovator, the risk-taker, who is so central to development. And the final U is for an unrealistic stationary state. Real-world development isn't some smooth, steady journey. It happens in fits and starts. It's messy. Okay, deep breath. We've covered a lot. So let's bring it all home now. This last bit is your ultimate revision guide. We've boiled everything down to the absolute essentials you need to know, all on this one last slide. Seriously, you might want to grab a screenshot of this one. This is your cheat sheet. It's got the core formula, Y equals LKT. It's got the main driving force, that invisible hand of self-interest, the starting point, division of labor, the engine of growth, capital accumulation. We've listed the agents of growth, and the end game, the stationary state. And, so important, it sums up those key criticisms about neglecting the middle class and the entrepreneur. These are the bolded, must-know keywords and concepts you'll want to define and connect in your exam answers. And just to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations almost 250 years ago. Think about that. Now, as you look around at India's economy today, with its bustling markets, its government policies, its incredible spirit of entrepreneurship, just ask yourself, how many of these ideas from a quarter of a millennium ago can we still see shaping things right here, right now?